In the frozen vastness of the Rocky Mountains, where the snow muffles even the most desperate screams, a young woman named Emily decided to escape the city with her brother Noah, searching for silence and reconnection. They wanted to flee the suffocating routine, breathe the icy forest air, and find each other again. Two siblings against the world, alone, free. But what they found there was neither peace nor reconciliation. On the first night, with the wind whispering through the trees, Emily heard her name being called. It was Noah's voice, but he was sleeping soundly bid her. The voice came from outside the tent, same tone, same cadence, repeating like a cursed echo. It was in that absolute silence that she realized something was watching, something that didn't just mimic. It studied and waited. When the food ran out and the blizzard sealed any hope of escape, Noah volunteered to hunt. He had always been the strongest. But when he returned hours later, Emily noticed something was wrong, deeply wrong. His clothes were stained with blood, his eyes distant, and the silence around him was heavier than ever. "I killed a deer," he said, emotionless. But the bones Emily saw near the clearing didn't look like they belonged to an animal. They looked bigger, humanoid. She didn't dare ask. That night, she woke up and saw her brother standing outside the tent, just staring at her. His face hollow, lips slightly parted, breathing as if containing something monstrous inside. He whispered, "I'm not hungry, but she is." That was the moment Emily understood. What returned from the forest wasn't her brother anymore. It was a shell, possessed by something ancient, something starving. The next day, Emily tried to run. The snow sliced her skin like glass. The wind howled like a beast. But what terrified her most wasn't the cold. It was the eyes, not Noah's, the ones in the trees, multiple, watching. Tracking her every step like fear was feeding their presence. She heard whispers, not in another language, but in her dead mother's voice. Promises, memories, distorted recollections. It wasn't a creature, it was a parasite, an emotional leech feeding off what made her human. Every step Emily took was like sinking into an invisible swamp. And no matter how far she ran, the Wendigo always seemed one breath ahead, as if it lived inside the beats of her heart. 5 days later, Emily was found by a rescue team. In shock, nearly blinded by frostbite, fingers blackened, skin raw and bleeding. She could only mutter one phrase: "It wasn't Noah." The team searched for him in the forest, but what they found was worse than any body. Symbols made of bones, scorched remains, footprints that shifted shape, as if something had learned to walk like a man but never forgot how to hunt like a monster. The files were sealed without explanation. Weeks later, the nurse who cared for Emily was found dead. Frozen inside her locked house, on her bedroom mirror, a single phrase written in fogged breath: "She's hungry." Whatever escaped the forest didn't stay there. Today, Emily lives far from everything. A simple house, no windows facing north, no strong heat. But on some nights, the coldest and quietest, she still hears 3 knocks at the door. Always 3, always in rhythm. She never answers. Because she knows. It's not Noah. It never was. Because the Wendigo's curse doesn't end when you survive. It follows you. It hides in grief, in longing, in guilt, and it feeds on everything you try to forget. The Wendigo isn't just a creature, it's a mirror of what we've lost on Sid, and what we're willing to become just to keep breathing. Emily survived, but survived is a tricky word. It suggests something was left behind, when the truth is, what chased her never left. The weeks that followed were marked by complete silence. No interviews, no official reports, just a brief statement from the authorities. Unexplained disappearance, area restricted due to environmental risk. But she knew no one would believe her, because the Wendigo doesn't leave evidence, it leaves absence. Interrupted lives, corroded minds, and a quiet fear that spreads like frost. Even when Emily tried to sleep, her dreams were broken bones, disfigured faces, and heavy steps in the snow. The hunger still surrounded her, not as sound, but as a memory burned into her skin. Months later, things started to change. Dead birds appeared on the porch. Footprints showed up around the house, only at night. But the worst was the note. No signature, just a stained piece of paper. "Did you eat too?" Emily fainted when she read it, because she knew, in that forest she felt it too. For 1 second, stomach empty, frost burning her skin, despair taking over, she considered it. Considered doing what Noah did, tasting it. But she didn't. And that's why the Wendigo didn't fully take her. Not yet. The note was a warning, or an invitation, because the Wendigo doesn't just kill, it infects, it plants hunger, and waits. One night during a brutal snowstorm, Emily heard Noah's voice again. Not at the door, but from the broken radio that hadn't worked since the incident. A ghost signal, scratched and warped, repeating, "It's cold out here, Emily, let me in." The device had no power. She turned everything off, lit candles, told herself it was just the wind. But the voice returned. Same tone, same plea, and with each repetition it sounded more human, more like Noah, as if the Wendigo was learning to be him again, as if trauma could be worn like a mask, scaring wasn't enough. It wanted to be accepted, welcomed, so it could consume her from the inside. Emily recorded a video, a single file, never posted, just saved. In it, she explains what she saw, what she felt, and ends by saying, "If you're hearing this, and you've heard a voice in the forest too, run. But not from what's outside, run from what's growing inside you. Because the Wendigo doesn't live in shadows. It lives in the desires we bury deep. It grows in guilt and desperation, in emotional hunger we pretend not to feel. And once you give it space, it eats everything, even hope." The camera shakes at the end. There's a sound in the background, like scratching, like heavy breathing, like footsteps in the snow. The file ends there. The video title, simply, "She's Still Hungry." Emily was never seen again. The house was found abandoned, wrapped in silence so dense investigators refused to stay overnight. Today they say there's a place in the forest where the ice never melts, where birds never sing, where you hear your name in a voice you know, and if you answer, you never come back the same. And perhaps the most disturbing thing is that Emily wasn't the only one. Since that video was quietly uploaded, more reports have emerged. People from across the country, hikers, hunters, truck drivers, backpackers, all describing the same thing. A hunger that isn't theirs, a presence that imitates them, a voice that calls their name in the dead of night. Some vanished without a trace, others returned, but never spoke again. Some were found wandering naked in the snow, muttering in dead languages. Others simply stopped talking, as if speaking would let the creature out. Because the Wendigo, according to the oldest stories, doesn't just consume you, it becomes you. So if you think this is just another creepy legend, think again. Authorities avoid the topic. Files are sealed, forests are closed under environmental excuses, but those who've seen, they know the truth. There is something in those woods, something that doesn't forget, that doesn't forgive, that never stops being hungry, because the Wendigo is more than a monster. It's a distorted reflection of what we fear most in ourselves. And when you hear that voice calling, it's not a test. It's already too late. Emily learned that the hard way, and you might be next to hear your name whispered through the frozen branches. If you felt chills watching this far, it's because she heard you too. And if you want to keep exploring true, soul-chilling stories, subscribe now to Fear Stories. Here, every video is more than just entertainment. It's a warning, a reminder that the world isn't as safe as it seems, and that not every legend is fiction. Turn on notifications. The next story might be the last one you'll ever watch with the lights on. Fear Stories. Fear has many faces, and some are always hungry.